Hello, this is Simple Solidworks. Today I'm going to be touching on several commands. The These features are probably the last features of this particular series. It is basically this area right here. We're going to focus on this area right here. We've been doing all of this for a couple weeks now, and these last 6 ones right here are the ones that sort of help you create some features that are unique within our industry. So it is for support, mainly for drafting, shelling, and stuff like that. Most of these you might see once in a while in your industry, and depends on where you work on. Plastic, you'll probably see a lot of shelling, maybe some drafts. Steel, you'll definitely see rib. This wrap, you might see it once in a while. I'm just like to have them. I don't know, because it just gives you an option to create them, right? So let's get back to that. So right now I have created this piece here, and I have several sketches in there because it makes the whole process a little bit faster and more intuitive to get to teach, right? I always do that. So let's start off with the rib. If I click on the rib, it's going to ask me to pick a plane or sketch. I already have that sketch made. I pick on that, and I then pick on this guy here. I confirm that, right? But how did I do that? It sort of makes sense if I explain that a little bit. Makes more sense. This sketch here, there are certain rules that need to be applied. The sketch has to have a plane sketch. It can be in between the middle of those two parts or whatever you need it to be, but it has to have a sketch plane. 2, the line has to be, again, constraint. It needs to be constrained to this face, this line here. It needs to be constrained to this line here, right? It needs to be connecting to something. It just can't be floating around because it doesn't make any sense. You got to put dimensions on it. What kind of angle do you want that gusset or that rib to be? Right now I have it at 45, but I can always tell it to be 40, right? As you can see, might not quite work because that 40 is kind of up there. So you go back to 45. And again, it has to be constrained. It has to be completely black so that it makes sense that you're doing something that is engineering wise. The feature itself, it has several options. You can make it go one way, you can make it go this way, or you can go from the mid plane. You can also increase right here the thickness of it, right here. So you can tell it, I need you to be 1/2 inch. You can type it in, or you can just confirm that. To see how it's facing this way, if you turn it around, it's not going to do it because it doesn't have a face to go to, right? It needs where am I going to terminate this rib? Right now, if you have a face like that, it's not going to terminate. So if you see that and you see that error and it doesn't make the part for you, it is because you have it facing the wrong way. Have it face it so that when it extrudes out, it knows exactly where it's going to terminate to, right? So then you confirm it, you got yourself your little rib right there. Okay, that's simple enough. It's just one line from one point to the other, and you just extrude it out to this corner right here. Okay, so the next item we're going to work on is the draft. The draft, again, you got to take 2 faces. It's the neutral plane, meaning where you're going to extrude, where you're going to draft from. Like, let's say for instance, let's get back to this command here. This piece right here, this box extrude, you can have it made with a draft on it already. If you pick on this icon right here, you can make it go with a draft angle. The problem is that's fine and dandy if you're going to create a part that it's going to get painted in 3D, and yes, now you can create that draft already pre-selected. But it doesn't quite work out if the part itself is being handed to you as a cast part. you need to do a CNC operation in which you now have to create a draft for this part right here, so that that the CNC machine will then go around and sort of make it go in a draft angle, right? So for that, you need to use this command right here. So when you pick it, you can always take something material from it, but you can't add to it. So if I'm going to show you something. If I pick this neutral plane here, then I pick the faces to draft, then I confirm. I want you to pay attention to what is happening. You see how that circle got bigger? If you were to do that, the person who's going to make this is going to come into an error because it cannot add material to a part that comes with a specific roundness to it. Right? That's not humanly impossible. So you can't add material to it if it comes from a casting, right? So you gotta subtract. So here you have to subtract. So again, if you hit draft, you say the neutral plane will be this, and my face to draft is this. That angle right here will be applied, and the part will maintain the diameter that it came from factory or from the foundry or from whatever here, but then it will draft it all the way at the 2 degrees and make this a smaller circle on the top. I hope that makes sense. You can't add material if you have it coming from a foundry. You can always subtract. So that's the mentality you got to keep when you're making these things. The next one is going to be the shell command. I'm going to shell this area right here. I'm just going to shell that out because I don't want to have that material. So I'm just going to pick this face right here. I'm going to tell it 10-inch thickness. That's fine. Confirm it. And it created some weird shelling thing there like that. So let's delete that. And let's do another shell. Right. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see what that does. Okay, that's also weird too. But that's pretty much what you see in the shell. This kind of, you got to play with it until you get to what you're looking for. It does create some oddities as well. You know, you would think that it would just create a shell of this area right here, but it's just created. For that, you might have to do like an extrude cut. You want something funky like that, you know, like if you just want to create a shell in there, and it might create something. The shell is kind of like if you want to have all of this empty here, like say you pick this bottom portion here, it's gonna shell out the whole thing, right? If you're creating a 3D print, that makes sense because now you're only printing the thickness of this thing here, which then makes it sort of more the waste of material and plastic that you don't need to print out. You just want to give it a nice shell of it. Which that makes sense. That command does make sense for that. The next one we're going to do is called the wrap. The wrap means it's going to take some, as you can see this right here, I already made this little sketch right here. If I say, give me a wrap of this, right? Of sketch 7, I'm going to say wrap. I'm going to dig in here. Okay. I'm going to dig in here and find my sketch 7. And I'm going to say yes. Then I'm going to tell it, you know, right here in this area, I wanted you to be on this plane right here. You see how it sort of transposed that into there? And if you give it a thickness here, you say 19 or you say 1.25, whatever, Nathan an inch going in, it'll do that. But I want you to pay attention over here. You have various options. You can make it go out, in, or just create a linear a face type of embossing. And I'll touch on that one so you can see what that does. So if I confirm that, it creates a shelled emboss in there. Boom, it'll pop it right through there, right? That kind of an effect, you see. You can always edit that and say, no, I want you to do it like this. Then that's not what I want. I want you to do this one here. So then when you confirm that, it puts it on top. So now it's on top, you see. And then you say, well, that's not exactly what I want. I want it to be a one of these, right? And you'll see what this does. It actually creates a surface that's different from this surface. So this surface here, you can change the color of that surface to say, let's give it a color here. Whenever it decides to do it. Let's say it's a red color. And you confirm that. And now that surface it's separate from this. So now you have a different look on that. So that's what that does. It has several options for you to do something cosmetically, just so that SolidWorks can create some cuteness to it, right? The next one we're going to touch is going to be the intersect. So I created a polygon sort of right around here, and that's going to be where I'm going to create my surface. So I have this weird shape that I was able to import from another designer. He's working on the surfacing of this thing. This part needs to mate with that surface, right? It needs to be perfect with it. I've gotten that alignment, this line from him, and I'm going to create my intersect from that. Okay, so what I do is I get that line from him, I'll come down to surface, and I'll extrude that line outward to create like a plane. I confirm that, so now I have where my part needs to mate with his. I go back down here and I say intersect. It's got the surface, right? And then what I do is I click on intersect here and I say, okay, which region do I want to keep? This is what this is asking me. If I say this one, no, that's not what I want. I want it to keep that one and delete the other one, or not delete, it just hides it. And now you sort of have it cut right through there. You can always take the surface and you can always hide it so that they don't see it, but you can see that it did that weird cut as it went across, right? That kind of a thing. So let's do the next one over, which is the mirror. We've done mirror before. We did it with the linear pattern lesson over here, but here they have it as well, just in case you forget. There's another one. So let's create a geometry plane sort of here and then here. Not there. I don't want that. Let's say here. Not that either. Let's say. No, that's not good. That's not a real face what to do. So let's pick this guy. Okay, let's cancel this. Let's pick. You always have to have a plane or something to make that work. So what I'm trying to do is create a plane in between there. That'll work. So I have my plane, then I'm going to mirror this piece over here. Hopefully it doesn't fall in empty space, but it shouldn't. So now I'm just going to hit the mirror command or mirror feature. I have my plane pre-selected. I'll pick my feature and I say, okay, it's grabbing the shell, so I don't like that. So let me turn off that shell. Let me suppress that. And let's do this again. Let's do a reference geometry plane here. Let's pick this guy here, and let's pick that guy there, and let's put it there. And let's do a mirror. And let's pick this piece here. Now that's what I wanted to do, sort of weird like that, and you confirm that. I then pick the draft because you didn't select it, right? I didn't select it, but if I go right click and say edit, and I want not only do I want that, but I also want the draft to be included. I confirm that. and it gave me a error. Okay. Well, it's not that hard to make that draft. Again, this is the way you need to, the neutral plane to be here. The face you need to draft is there. You confirm that. Now you have your feature part, right? So that's pretty much how these 6 commands work. There's not the hardest features to make. You can play around with this. It's very easy to work with. Hope next week or a couple days from now, I'm going to be touching on the next tab right here. This tab here has a ton of things that you can do on the drawing side. Okay. Most people don't put emphasis on this because they just go ahead and create, but there's a lot of power here that you can do to make your drawings a lot faster in SolidWorks. So that's going to be on in the next lesson, and hopefully we get through that and we'll push through that in one day, and then we can go back and start touching on the surfaces, which is similar to extrusions, right? It's similar to this tree here, but on the surfaces it just has a lot more parameters that you can do to create surfaces if you're into that kind of stuff. Like if that's what your area of expertise is, to create surfaces, then this sort of will help. And my area's expertise is sheet metal, so I'll be touching this, and we will get into that soon enough. So please subscribe, keep out on the lookout so that you can see the next videos, and hopefully this will get you a little bit further into your SolidWorks experience. I want to thank you and hope to see you soon again.